Okay, this is TradersUNITE track trading rollout. We had one last night, and this is the same material. In case you showed up for both, this won't be that much different than last night. I might cover a few more angles, but it's live, so you can ask questions. However, I'm not going to answer any questions until after the show, unless it's very compelling. I also want to mention that last night, a lot of people were complaining that the sound was poor, and unfortunately there's nothing I could do about that. That had to be the webinar service, because the other half of the people, the sound was fine, so it wasn't anything I could control. So I hope the sound is okay this time. All right, there's a lot of new people here, so I'm going to cover some very fundamental basics at first before I show you track trading. So bear with me if you've seen this material already. But for the new people, one of the most surprising things I'm going to tell you is the following: that company fundamentals in trading are useless. That's right, useless. And by fundamentals, I mean, balance sheets, earnings, company strategy, management, that sort of thing, which every financial show you watch, they hammer on this kind of information. They go on and on and on and on about it. But I got news for you. That information in terms of getting an edge in trading is useless. And the reason it's useless is because there's nothing about a company you could learn that is not already known by millions of people. Nothing. Now, short of insider trading, there's really nothing you could know that's going to give you an edge, because too many people already know about it. And that's the problem with fundamentals. So how does one get an edge then when it comes to buying, selling stocks, etc.? The answer is simple. The markets are driven by speculators. That's it. Pure and simple. They're not driven by companies. They're not driven by profits. They're driven by speculators, who are people. To get an edge, does this mean you become one of them, one of the speculators? The answer is no. You get an edge by speculating on them. This is the damnedest thing, when you finally get this, because for years I lost tens of thousands of dollars trying to be a speculator, looking at fundamentals. Well, this company ought to get good profits next year, that sort of thing. And I would always come up short. I'd always fail, until it hit me that all I got to do is figure out what these speculators are up to and what they're going to do, and therein is the key. Your only edge is to speculate on the speculators. The reason you speculate on the speculators is, one, because thousands of people who are speculating know more than you do. Now, I said that studying fundamentals is useless, but these thousands of people who are speculating have studied all those fundamentals. They've done all that work for you, so it doesn't matter. You go with what they're up to. If you try to become smarter than they are, you will usually lose. It is far easier to anticipate the speculator's next move than it is to become one of them. We're talking about simple human psychology, and mob mentality. So, for example, let's take gold. Gold is often all over the map. It goes way up, goes way down, goes sideways. It goes all over the place. Does that mean you speculate on gold? The answer is no. What you do is you speculate on the gold speculators. You see, you step back and say, what are these gold fanatics going to do next? You see, in a perfect market, a company's stock would look like this. I'm showing a straight line, basically. Maybe it's tilted slightly up. But you see, a company's fundamentals, its basic profit loss, that sort of thing, doesn't change all that much over a year. It changes a little, but not a lot. And therefore, in a perfect stock market, most stocks would go sideways. But it doesn't. In reality, they typically looks like this. It goes all over the place. Well, what's that about? The answer is because the speculative valuations are made by humans, and humans react emotionally to various news and events. It is human emotion and reaction that cause gyrations in the market that would otherwise be flat or barely moving. It's very important that you really get this, because this is where the key lies in getting an edge. Yep, therein is the key, because we have this thing called technical analysis. Now, technical analysis, which is the study of charts, basically, it sounds fancy, it sounds technical, but all it is simply reading the emotional mob reactions from a chart. That's all it is. Yeah, it looks a lot more than that to some people, but that's their mistake. Because all that chart is really telling you, it's like a window to the soul of the mob. Because stock gyrations are caused by millions of traders literally all over the world buying and selling. So it's their composite knowledge that is driving that chart. It's not a robot. It's not a company. It's not an automaton. And no, it's not, you know, high frequency trading algorithms. Well, maybe some of it, but certainly not all. It's humans reacting to various news and events. I'm going to show you the simplest possible example of what I'm talking about. Here is a chart. Now, this chart shows two areas, what I would call greed and fear. Okay, greed and fear. Now see, here is greed. Because, how do we know that? Well, because if you look at the volume down here, it suddenly increases way above its norm. Its norm is right there, you see. And all of a sudden there's a nice big green volume spike. That means that a lot of people are piling into that stock. And sure enough, it starts ramping up, and it ramps up for days and days and days. This is a daily chart. I'm calling that greed, although that's sort of derogatory, but it's really just the bandwagon, let's get in on the action, let's make some money, you know, that sort of thing. And people start piling in, sometimes even tripping over each other, as it were, and the stock soars. You could have spotted that on the chart by just two simple things, by looking at this volume and looking at the direction, and you see that it had a nice solid change of trend. Now, it's not an automaton causing that, it's people, and that's what you're looking for. Over here, we have fear, and you know that fear is setting in because right here, you have a massive red volume spike. That means sell volume. That means that fear is about to onslaught these people. And fear causes the stock to plummet into the pits of hell. You could have predicted that fairly easily. So these 2 points are showing greed and fear in a big way. Now, it's a little bit more complicated than this because I'm showing you a blatant example. But I did it on purpose to give you the idea of what the kind of stuff you're looking for in these charts. Don't get too stuck on the quote-unquote technical aspects. You got to realize that all it is are indicators that tell you what might be going on behind the scenes. Here's one more example. Right here we've got greed forming, and we know that because of the nice increase in green volume, and sure enough the stock flies. Right here we have fear forming, and we have massive down volume, and the stock goes all the way down. Whoops. The stock goes all the way down to this point. You might not see it, but there's this wick that goes all the way down there. Now, that's interesting because I want to show you something. On my next slide, I have a blown up version of this downslide on a 60-minute chart. This is a daily chart. A 60-minute chart, here's what that plummet looked like. And there's a method of my madness here, and you'll see what I'm getting at in a sec. See, this stock went flying down all the way down to this level, and then it did a sharp reversal and ramped up. You could have caught that at its low and traded it and rode that thing back up. This is a 60-minute chart, so that's a nice gain for many hours of holding. So it's not necessarily this rapid day trade. Here's the question: how do you know when that fear has subsided and the stock reverses? How do you know? I mean, you could have dived in here, or here, or here, or here, and every one of those you would have been hammered. You would have been clobbered. You see that? So how do you know to get in here? Well, that's where technical analysis comes in, and that's where it's helpful, and I'll show you. Right there, I'm showing the same chart, but I'm showing a moving average line. This is one of the simplest technical analysis tools there is, the moving average. They say, that is, traders, that when the price falls below this moving average, it's tend to be downtrending. And sure enough, as soon as it falls below that moving average, it slides all the way down here. But now notice that as soon as it comes around and then touches that moving average and goes above it, that is when the stock flies. You see that? So a lot of traders can use the simple moving average to determine direction. So in this case, you would not get in until at least the gap between the moving average and the price closed. In this case, it closed up right here. And that would be a good entry point if you're purely going off of this indicator, and you'd ride it back up. Now I want to show you another one a little more sophisticated. That's called the MACD histogram. The MACD histogram is one of my favorites, and the reason it's one of my favorites, a lot of people say, well, Gar, what's the best indicator? There is no such thing. You use the one that you're comfortable with, and the truth is they're all kind of about the same. They're all similar. But the reason I like one versus another is because it's easier to look at, and it's easier to see something immediately. The reason I like the MACD histogram is you can see a picture of the stock's direction very clearly. And in this case, it's very clear. You see these red bars down here? That's the histogram going negative. Don't let the term histogram fool you. That's just a fancy name for, an algorithm that tells you the directional movement. But these staircase red bars getting increasingly large indicates heavy downside. Now notice these bars start to get smaller as you go this way. That tells you the stock is probably reversing. But then it goes to zero, the flat line right here, and then it goes staircase green. And in the histogram, usually staircase green indicates strong upside. That's how you know it's time to jump in. And sure enough, stock ramps. So on a closer look, the histogram looks like this. This is kind of an exaggerated example. In a lot of cases, you'll have much smaller bars than that. But when you see a pattern like that, usually the price will look like that. Or vice versa. If it was green on the left and red on the right, it would be the reverse of that. Now, I'm using the histogram as an example. There's lots and lots of indicators that do similar things. But on the subject of histogram, and this is really the heart of what I'm getting at, the MACD histogram on this particular stock, this symbol is TRN. I chose this for a reason, and I'll show you why. Every one of those circles is when this particular stock, this is about a 1 year, it's a little more like 7 months of a daily chart here. Every time that histogram had that nice staircase green ramp up, the stock responded really well. And let me show you. Right here, it starts ramping up, and sure enough, the stock gains for several days in a row. Here it did it again, it gains. Here it did it again, It gains for many days. Here it was super staircase green, and the stock goes into outer space. Same right here. It starts going, ramping up green, and the stock soars for like a week. Same thing here. It goes up. Same thing here. It goes up. Right here, it did it again, and it goes up, 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 up. Right here, you would have had a temporary loser, but then it did finally ramp up. So you get the idea. This particular stock pretty much has 100% success rate for the MACD histogram. Now I'm getting into the heart of this whole track trading thing, and that is this. A new trader, often somewhat naive new trader, will discover this and think and know that he has found the Holy Grail, right? He'll look at this and go, oh my God, this is the goose that laid the golden egg. Look at this, 100% guarantee. New traders discover a few indicators such as MACD histogram and assume the Holy Grail has been found. They're like, woohoo! I mean, think about it. Wouldn't you think that with what I just showed you? Well, you better think again, and I want to show you why. Let's take another chart. Same indicator, MACD histogram. The stock, this case, is Twitter, TWTR. Same time period. Now, remember that last stock? It was the goose that laid the golden egg. But however, look at Twitter using MACD histogram. We got a little green ramp up right here on the left. Stock goes up for one day and then it crashes. Next time it does it, the stock goes sideways and then crashes. We've got one here that it spiked up one day and then went sideways. It went up a little bit, so you can call that a small win. We got one here. It goes up for a day and then crashes. We got one here. It spiked up for one day, went up a little bit the next day, and then gets hammered. Right here, we would have entered here and it went sideways, maybe up a little bit, and then it gets pounded. Right here, it goes sideways. So suddenly, we thought we found the Holy Grail, and yet we apply that indicator to our favorite stock, Twitter. It's not mine, but I'm just saying. And we lose our ass. Okay, now what happens is that it never occurs to the trader, the new trader, that there's a problem with this. So what he does is he blames the MACD histogram. He says, well, then the MACD histogram doesn't really work. Because TRN wins big, TWTR loses big. That's the technical analysis trap. Because the trader starts getting confused. Like, what indicator should I use? The MACD histogram's no good. Should I use the stochastic? Should I use this? Should I use that? And they get caught in this matrix of indicators and filters and whatnot. And it's just a treadmill. So more and more indicators are studied. None work across all stocks. It leads to spiderweb charts. You know what I mean by that. I criticize a lot of people. Sometimes on our own forum, you see these links to these what I call spiderweb charts. They have like 16 indicators, and you can't make heads or tails of this stuff. But this is what this stuff leads to, is when you can't get the perfect indicator. It leads to endless filters and setups. I bet you a lot of you know what I'm talking about. There are entire chart websites that are dedicated to a single indicator. I saw one the other day that somebody was talking about called the Bull Flag, bullflag.com or something like that, where this is the Holy Grail indicator. Well, as I already showed you, there's no such thing. And that is where track trading comes in. You see, there's a method to this madness, because I'm going to show you why track trading is different. Here's the problem that most people have, including myself for many years. They take a given indicator and they apply it to all stocks. But that's wrong. That's not correct. That doesn't give you the optimum answer. Yeah, that's what everybody's doing, really. Like even in PowerScan, they'll make this filter, which is really a combination of indicators, and they'll apply it to all the stocks and see which one trips. The problem is they're going to come up with Twitter, you see, and it's not going to work. The correct way is take a single stock and apply it to all indicators. And the result is you get different scores. You get different answers. In this particular case, we can see that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the fourth indicator we tried, this is just an example, has a plus 78, whereas all the other ones have smaller results. So we know for that stock, this indicator works best. Now, a lot of our products do this already, like Midnight Review is like the king of this. It does this sort of thing. Signature does this sort of thing. And track trading actually is modeled after the signature technology. The difference is track trading is more sophisticated and more detailed. So to repeat, this is very, very important. So to repeat and summarize, all other systems apply an indicator, filter, etc. to all stocks. Since all stocks do not respond favorably to the indicator, you have false positives. Track trading applies a single stock to all indicators to determine the best one for that stock. The trader can then trade his or her favorite stocks for maximum gains. This is like, now this is the Holy Grail. And the reason is because it suits your own personal preferences. Every trader has their own favorite stocks. I mean, you can't deny that. Just look at our leaderboard and you can see what I'm talking about. So a lot of people trade the same one over and over and over. I have my own favorites. And usually you derive a favorite. This is my opinion, but usually a trader derives a favorite by a stock that worked for him or her. You know, one that you did well with. That's usually how that happens. But it doesn't matter. It's your favorite stock or stocks. And that's how this method, this track trading thing was designed, to have that in mind. So now with no further ado, I'm going to show you track trading. What it looks like. For any of you new people, I'm showing you TradersUNITE, which is the senior premium supremo trading platform of the universe. It's actually just a product that has a lot of really cool and powerful modules in it, including a stock forum and advisory services and paper traders and all kinds of cool things. But what I want to show you here is track trading. In the new version that you will download, you'll see track trading. If it's enabled, you'll get something that looks like this. Now, the default stock list, what you're seeing there, is theoretically your own custom list. Now, just so it won't be completely blank, the default list is just some list that I made up that has, like, 6 stocks in it, or 6 or 8 stocks in it. By no means is that the list you're supposed to use or supposed to stick with. The idea is on the default list is you want to add your own favorite stocks to the list. You can add as you go. If you want to add, there's 2 ways. One is to add a lot of stocks, use the list wizard. Go up here and do list wizard. And I can add whatever I want, either one at a time manually, or I can import it from a text file, or I can go to the master list and do it that way. Let's do this. Let's say I want to add a bunch of ETFs. So I select ETFs. I want to take only the high volume ones, so I go like that. And I want to add all of those, let's say. This is just an example. There, I've now added all those stocks to my list. Or you can select one of the other built-in lists. For example, there's all stocks, if you want to look at it that way. And there's all options, assuming you have options enabled in your TradersUNITE. I personally love the all options window. That's how I make most of my choices in the morning. Okay, now what do these numbers mean? what you have here, this is very similar to Signature for those of you who use Signature, except the difference is there's way more indicators that it checks, plus it's way more detailed, and there's a lot more variables that it uses, because the idea is it really, really, really wants to tell you what the best strategy is for that stock. But you'll notice that in this bottom right is a list of the indicators that are best for that stock. If the stock has tripped, in other words, if that indicator is true right now, it will highlight it in yellow, like right there. It's telling us that a negative moving average is narrowing. What does that mean? Well, that means the stock is running below a moving average. In this case, it's a 15-period moving average. It's running below, which is negative, but that negative gap between the price and moving average is narrowing. What we discovered in lots of back testing is that narrowing usually indicates a reversal for the stock. In this case, when that happens, 75% of the time that stock will rally. And so that's a pretty good deal. But now here's something that Signature cannot do, which is, in my opinion, is the most powerful feature of track trading. That's if you click on the link for the indicator in question, it'll actually mark the chart of where it's happened before. See those yellow marks? It happened right here, and it did in fact, by the way, this is a 60-minute chart because I'm on the intraday indicators. Intraday, meaning during the day, not like multiple days. You can choose, I'll show you that in a sec. You can choose different time periods, but the only time that it's showing on the time period I have for this chart is right here. And notice how that stock ramped up for hours. This is a 60-minute chart. So that was a pretty good deal, if you ask me. And right here, it tried to rally, but looks like it went sideways and then fell back. But it looks like it's coming back. Anyway, the point is, the reason why that chart marking is so super valuable is because it gives you a total instant picture of what to expect for that indicator. And for me personally, it gives me confidence. If I'm about to put hard money on the line, I want to see how that stock has performed in the past, in the recent past. So let's look at the number one indicator for this stock. And I can immediately see the number one indicator is positive stochastic increasing sharply plus an uptrending market. That's what it's telling me. So if I were to wait for the indicator for this stock, I would look for that. Those yellow marks are every time that it is that is tripped. And you know what? It's not bad. It is not bad. I would have some confidence in it. Because right here we have one and it rallied for many hours. We had one here and it rallied. We had one here and it went way up. We had one here and it looks like it failed for a couple hours and then it finally came back. Same pattern as the other stock. The market was probably getting pounded. That's probably what happened there. Anyhow, I can't tell you how valuable that graphic pictorial feature really is. You'll know what I'm talking about when you start using it. It'll give you a lot more confidence in your trades. It'll also weed out false positives. Because, you know, just because the stock has tripped on the indicator doesn't mean that it's going to rally. It means that it has rallied in the past. But there's other factors. Remember, you always need some human intervention in this. There is no such thing as a perfect red light, green light system. It does not exist. You have to use judgment. And the chart marking is really a cool aid in that judgment. Anyhow, another feature which track trading has that Signature does not is it's got 6 time periods that you can look at its ratings. The one on the very left here is intraday. Actually, the first four are intraday, but they're different time periods. The first one is buy or sell at any time during the day, which means you're basically going to sit there all day long for the most part and figure out different trades. Intraday AM means that you only are going to be in the market in the morning. Now what that means is that it's still basing its scoring on the intraday chart. What it means is it takes into account that you're only going to be there in the AM, which means that it's only going to give you results that are good for today's AM all the way into tomorrow's AM. So you won't get you won't get stuck trading something and you have to leave and you come back the next morning and you're getting hammered. It's going to keep that in mind. Intraday PM is the opposite. It means you can only be there right before the close. So knowing that, it's going to look for ratings for you that are good for the close. It's interesting. I noticed that there's absolutely no score on any of these stocks, at least on the bull side, for that time zone, which is probably correct because it didn't know. Then you've got AM and PM, which means you can be there in the morning and or the evening, and so it's going to take that in consideration. Then you've got your daily. Daily is frankly what I like to use the most because daily gives you a longer term outlook, not just a day trade. Daily will tend to look 24 hours to up to 3-4 days in advance, and it keeps that in mind. And so your ratings for that time zone will be a lot different than your intraday ratings. I like to use that even if I'm trading intraday because daily gives me a much broader picture of where the stock is going. Look how beautiful this one is, by the way, on the daily. Let's see, what? Oh, I was looking at let's look at another one. Let's look at RF. Okay, RF, price rising above the 20-period moving average. That's what it likes for this stock. Look at the beautiful results. Okay, I want to show you a few of these. Look at the past times it's done that. The first obvious time on this chart is right here. Look how that stock rallied for like 2 weeks. Then it happens again here. And it rallies for another 2 weeks. I don't see any marks for a really long time, and notice how it collapsed. Okay, here was one false positive right here. And it went kind of sideways-ish and then collapsed, so that might have been a loser. But here we have a nice 5-6 day winner. And look at that, it's doing it again right now. So it's telling us this is probably a good trade to ramp upwards. We shall see. Anyhow, I'm looking at daily ratings. Now, finally, last but not least, there's weekly. Weekly is absolutely outstanding for really longer-term trades. Any of you have no time to day trade or no time to even be at the market a lot? This is your answer. Weekly can find stocks for you that are good to go for like at least a week. And I'm going to show you more of that in a sec. So I'm not going to cover that too much at this moment. Anyhow, those are the time zones. And that's essentially what track trading is all about. It applies each individual stock to all indicators, and then it tells you which one is tripped and which ones are best for that stock. Now, what about a track record? Does this stuff really work? Yeah, it works. We wouldn't be selling it if it didn't, because we'd get creamed. I want to show you a couple. And just in the last week and a half, I've been using almost exclusively track trading for option picks in GARS Gold. Here's one that's about a week and a half ago, CLF. It's a bear trade, so it did a put option on this. The best indicator, according to track trading, was that it falls below its 5-period moving average. This is on a 60-minute chart. And if you look at that, you see up here it fell below its moving average, and sure enough, it takes a dive. So here it is doing it again. It's falling below its moving average. And so I don't show a lot of chart here, but I remember the picture of it in track trading had a nice success rate for that pattern. So I went with it. Now I'm masking the results here because I'm going to show you that right now. Boom, and I actually typed in woohoo right here because this put option play was a 91% gainer. 2-day hold, and it was awesome. And this was the result of track trading. CLF is one that I tend to follow because remember, use your favorite stocks. And by the way, I think I got out after 2 days. It actually kept falling and falling after that, so I was kind of a wimp. All right, next one. EWZ. In this case, EWZ's favorite pattern was MACD histogram goes more negative than it already was. And look at that beautiful track record on those yellow marks. This one I was pretty certain about. See, it first tripped right here, and look at that thing slide, right? It trips here, and it slides for 3 days until it finally rebounds. But it tripped here several days in a row, and it slides for a week. This is on the bear side, okay? There's a good one. Slides. Now, notice that there's no marks all the way up. So, had you bought put options all the way up in this period, you would have gotten killed. But track trading told you it was not a good deal until right now. It doesn't show it here, but right about here, that same pattern is starting to form. And I have it covered up because I haven't showed the results yet. But this was a classic put option play according to track trading. And sure enough, boom. Look at that beautiful, beautiful collapse. Now, I'm not showing it here, but this was an 84% gainer in 1 day. And like a wimp, I closed it, and yet it went on to gain almost 200%. What was I thinking? Because I don't show it here on the chart. This is a few days ago, but this thing fell like down to here or something. Anyhow, I don't want to harp on it. No reason crying over spilt profits. One more, XLI, MACD again. And this time it was on the bull side. Again, nice track record. You show the two yellow guys. Right here, it rallied for 2 days. Right here, it rallied for 2 days. And it's showing the same pattern again. And I'm going, this is a good choice. So call options, voila. Now, this was a little scary because in this case, I believe my entry was somewhere around here. I believe I had to guts it out for a whole day. Okay? But track trading came true to its word, and it spiked up into outer space the next day. So that was pretty cool. And that was a 45% gainer for a 2-day hold. You get the idea. Now, you're going to say, Gar, you're just showing the winners. Did you have losers? Yeah, we had losers. But there were less than the winners. Not only less number-wise, like I think it was 1 loser out of 3 wins, but percentage-wise, you cut your losses at a reasonable level. You get these 45%, 50%, 80%, you can't go wrong. As long as you don't let the options lose 100%, you'll do all right. All right, long-term trading. Well, I cover that a little more because there's a lot of people that would love to do this, I being included, because they cannot be at the market, every minute. And they'd rather just do kind of a semi-buy and hold kind of thing. Well, no such thing as total buy and hold, but there's a couple things that come close. And that's where track trading can really help. You do is you click on the weekly time period and look at various stocks. What I would do is I would just go to all stocks if you're going to trade straight stocks. And for longer term, that might be okay. Because the reason you don't want to trade, the reason you'd rather do options for short term is because they're fast trades and you can make huge leverage on small amounts. If you're going to trade pure stocks, you're better off doing longer holds because way less commissions. Anyway, you go to weekly, and I want to show you an example of something you could find in the weekly. I looked at this the other day and I went, oh my God. This is IWM, the Russell 2000 ETF. This is a weekly chart. Had we had track trading a year ago, this is about a 1-year weekly chart. Some of us would have made a killing on this stock if we were following it religiously. And here's why. The pattern that it likes best for IWM showed up here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, etc., etc. If you look closely, every single one of those, the stock rallied for 2-3 weeks or more. Right there, that's 2 weeks. This is a weekly chart. Keep in mind, every bar is a week. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, actually 4 weeks rally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks rally. 3 weeks rally. Etc., etc. This one has like a 7-week rally. Look at that. It's telling us that it's another buy on a weekly. But my point is this. You would have had success just about 100% of the time buying and holding IWM for a few weeks at a time. Now, how do you know when to get out? That's going to be the obvious question. How do you know when to get out? The answer is when the stock goes the other way for track trading, or when it starts to go the other way. And I'm showing you that right here. This is the same chart, same exact chart, IWM, 1 year, weekly. I'm now showing you the bear side of track trading. In other words, when it tells you that IWM is a decent short. Notice that it's almost a mirror opposite of what we just looked at. It says get out. It says short there or don't buy. Short there or don't buy. Short there or don't buy, etc. You see that? That tells you when to get out. So the answer is, or you can even go short there or do put options. The answer is you get out when the indicator that gave you the go-ahead is no longer true, where it's reversing. Okay, in this case, let me tell you exactly what I'm talking about. In this case, you just use your common sense. IWM's best indicator is MACD histogram having an increasing, direction. Let's back up a sec. Let me go to the previous one we just looked at. Yeah, this is the bull side for IWM. Notice, okay, MACD histogram going more green is what track trading likes for this stock on a weekly chart. It's an entry point because MACD histogram's gone way green right there. However, notice that right here, that those green bars are starting to weaken. That's your flag to get out. So when the indicator that gave you the stock in the first place starts to weaken visibly, that's when it's time to exit. In this case, you'd buy here, you'd hold until right there. Right there is where you sell because the indicator has weakened. And look at that, it was a perfect exit spot because right after that, the next week, the stock collapses. Right here you'd buy, and then the histogram is good for 4 weeks, and then it goes way down, and it goes even negative. Definitely a sell point right there. So you get the idea. When that indicator starts to decay, that's your sell signal. And that's particularly true on these weekly charts. And when I said there's no such thing as a red light green system, this is about as good as you can get. This is about as close as you can get to a red light, green light. But this is perfect for IRA accounts, because you could probably get 30, 40, 50% a year on your IRA by trading in and out, say, ETFs, using very disciplined rules and using track trading. I don't know that for sure, because one of the problems with longer term trading is you got to get a good sample. And so this stuff is pretty new, so we don't have a really huge sample yet. But at least we can see what's happened in the past with these markings. Now I'm saying down here, what I want to show you is just a few quick examples of various stocks that might be really cool to trade long term. Let's go to track trading, and we're on weekly. And let's go to all stocks. One I wanted to show you is one I noticed. There's one of Lico's favorites, which is TNA. I want to show you TNA because it actually is a really good track trading stock for longer term. Okay, TNA, it's just like the one I showed you. Its favorite here is positive MACD. Wow, its score of 93% success rate with a positive MACD. Look at that. This is beautiful. Every one of those yellow marks would have been an entry point, okay? And if you look closely, it's like almost 100%. Keep in mind that every one of those bars are a week. So just right here alone is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 week hold. And it went from $65 to about $75. That's a gargantuan gain for a stock. And what's interesting is the bear side is just as accurate. So you know exactly when to exit. So TNA would be a beautiful stock to consider longer term trades. But what I really want to show you, what I would do if you're interested in the longer term thing, is just go to these stocks and just study them one night. Just march through and see which ones look really good to you. I personally prefer ETFs when it comes to long holds because they're less volatile. They're less subject to news and less subject to bad earnings, that sort of thing, because they represent groups of stocks. See, now that one jumps out at me as being very good for longer term trades, because this is just random. I'm looking at it because it really ramped up nicely with every one of those yellow marks. Anyhow, that's something you can do. If you want to know any more about it, you can always ask questions. So I think we're almost done here. Oh yeah, summarize longer-term trading. Examine weekly track trading tables. Make a list of the best ones for you. Trade in and out weekly based on the tracking. Hold until the opposite indicator begins to materialize. The reason I say begins to materialize is you don't want to wait until the bear indicator is rock solid. It's usually too late. By then, you usually have lost a lot back. What I would do is I just wait for that bear indicator to start to materialize, or the bull indicator has decayed substantially. Okay, how do you get track trading? Lots of people have been, sending me messages and emails asking about this because I guess it's confusing to a lot of people. Let me try to explain it like this. One of the problems we've had, this TradersUNITE, see, the purpose of TradersUNITE is to migrate all of our old products into one single platform. Right now, people are still using the old PowerScan, and the reason is because they want to run their own filters, which is fine, but eventually, and hopefully soon, that filter technology is going to move into TradersUNITE. So in other words, everything inside of PowerScan will be inside of TradersUNITE. As all you probably know, Power scan was a one-time price, lifetime once you bought it. In which case, when all the power scan features have been migrated into TradersUNITE, that new technology will cost, if you're a power scan owner, that'll cost you nothing. It'll be zero. So you get the idea, see? Not all the features have been moved over. The only features that have moved over 100% is GT Pro and optionality. Those have moved over 100%, and some. This is where it gets complicated and why this is always confusing, this whole pricing thing. Because we had to figure out how to accommodate people that already bought this stuff. At the same time, how do we price things that are new, that nobody has? Well, that's a problem because we have, as you know, we got two levels in TradersUNITE. We got level 1, well, we got 3. We got level 0, which is all free for everybody, like the forum, paper trader, that sort of thing. Level 1, which is GARS Gold and regular stocks, and I think stock signature. And level 3 is options and stock signature. Now, if you bought optionality, you are semi-grandfathered into level 2 because most of level 2 is options, and this is where it gets confusing. You're going to think you're grandfathered, and so you're going to wonder, why do you have to buy track trading? Because track trading is part of level 2, or that's what it is right now. The answer is because track trading is a new module, and so you have to actually, pony up and buy level 2 to get track trading, even if you have optionality. Now, there's a special discount for you if that's the case that I'll get to in a sec, but I hope I've clarified this somewhat, because I got at least 6 emails saying, Gar, it says I'm grandfathered in the level 2, but it won't, but I have no access to track trading. That's because track trading, yes, is part of level 2, but it's a new module that nobody is grandfathered in unless you've already paid the grandfather price. Which leads me to the specials. If you bought either grandfather or special, you're in. So if you remember the previous webinar we had, we offered this thing called the grandfather special, which means if you buy that, you never have to pay a monthly charge for levels 2 or 1, ever. And a lot of people opted for that. I was very pleased about that. But if you already did that, you're in. You don't pay any more for this track trading. It should just work for you. If you want to go monthly, here's your other option. If you don't have it yet, if you want to go monthly, you just simply buy level 2 every month or multiple months for cheaper, which is $79. So if you're really skittish, you don't want to blow hundreds, you can always go in and buy 1 month, all right, and see how it works for you. And then renew or not at the end of the month. If you're confident and you want to get the grandfather special, it's still on. Now this is limited. The grandfather special is a one-time price where you never pay again on it. And that stops when we reach 50. I'll tell you right now, I'm saying there's 18 remaining. That's not true anymore. We had a bunch of them last night. I'd say there's more like 7 or 8 remaining. So if you want to do that, you got to do that. We got to cut it off at 50 because otherwise we lose money. See, we need future revenue, which means monthly charges to sustain our services. This is something we're trying to get into because we've been, frankly, hurt by this one-time charge thing in the past. There's expenses that go on and on and on. There's people that are on the forum every day of our lives, and when there's data feed charges and there's this and that bought PowerScan 5 years ago and they've never paid anything since, right? Now, a deal is a deal and we honor that, but come on, we have expenses that go on and on and on. So that's my argument in case you're wondering why you got to buy any of this stuff. However, if you bought optionality, and this is where it gets tricky, if you have bought optionality, level 2 grandfather special is $300 off. So yes, we are trying to accommodate you if you're semi-grandfathered in level 2, and that's how. You will be semi-grandfathered to level 2 if you own optionality. And you pay $300 less for the grandfather special. And it will know that when you try to buy. It will know that if you have your right username being used. And if you need to buy, how do you do it? You launch TradersUNITE. You go to My Account. You click Manual Renew at the top right. That'll bring you to a buy page, and you can just choose whatever you want. If you choose the level 2 grandfather, it will compute the discount if you own optionality, and that'll change. That number will change for you. If it doesn't, well, let me know. But it should. Anyway, that's all the material I have for now. Yeah, I already got somebody saying no audio and they left. I have no idea what is going on with that. Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions written on this. Okay, somebody asked me, it said, Gar, can you check the functionality of the list wizard import stocks to add button? He say it won't import a text file. I don't want to check that right now because I don't think I have a text file I could test, to be honest with you. But I will check it out after the show and see if that's true. I don't think that's true. You know, remember that text file has to be the first field of the text file has to be the symbol. I do know this, and also that the stock has to exist in our master list. You can't just import any old stock. It has to be in our master list. I do know that. Yeah, okay, the same guy says that only import a fixed 5 symbols over and over. I'll check it out for you, I promise, and if there's a bug, we'll do an update. Can I trade smaller time frames on stocks? Like 3 or 5 minutes. I'm not sure what you're asking. What do you mean by trade? You mean look to analyze them with TrackTrading? I'm not sure what you're asking. Okay, yeah, the text file guy says he has successfully imported it already into PowerScan. Okay, so there's probably an issue there. I'll check it out for you, and if there's a problem, the next update will have a fix. Emmanuel says, Gar, is this recorded? I missed almost everything due to technical issues on my computer. Yes, it'll absolutely be is being recorded, and we'll have the recording available sometime late tonight, and everybody will get an email about it. Okay, I see you're asking. You're asking about the time frames for analysis. No, there is no shorter time period than 60 minutes, and there's a reason for that. Because 2 reasons. Number one, most people, you know, there are obviously some exceptions, but most people absolutely do not have the wherewithal or the mindset or the desire to make rapid trades on 2, 3, 4, 5 minute charts. They just don't. I mean, yeah, there's diehards that live in our forum that do that kind of thing a lot, but most people do not want to do that, especially if you're an options trader, because options, you got to hold options for a while because they don't move fast enough. Or in another sense, they can move too fast if you're just going a few minutes. But the reason we chose 60-minute time periods is because that is the optimum. With lots and lots of back testing, I discovered that 60 minutes gives you the greatest of all pictures of where that stock is going. Because remember, even though there's 60-minute increments, it's still going to move every minute. You know, that current 60-minute bar is going to change. And so you can still get some really fine-tuned day trading type of indicators on a 60-minute chart. But it gives a much broader picture, and will give you a more firm direction of where that stock is going intraday. Is there a training video to TT or a manual that describes the features or strategies surrounding the features? Not yet. What you have is this webinar, which will be recorded, is being recorded now. But there also, yeah, the answer is yeah, in the future. There will be a series of videos explaining the various features. And then hopefully even some of the strategies that you might want to try. This is all in the making. Now, this is very, very new stuff. Just today, I had to fix 2 different bugs that were reported that slipped by our testing. That's how new this stuff is. Somebody says, never mind, I restarted and updated. I'm trying to see what that person was. Oh, he says you bought level 2 and it's still telling me you can't get in. Yeah. Look, you guys, if you buy level 2 and you're running the program, I think you have to quit the program and start it again, because otherwise it doesn't know that you did that. Because when I think it's supposed to know, but I think it only checks like once every hour or something. But you usually have to quit the program and start up again if you buy something, because it knows about your account status after you launch the program. It goes to your account data, it reads it in, and it just sits there. So if you go change that status, the program doesn't know that. That's not true if you wait for like an hour or 2. I think it will finally realize that, because it does go and check your account status randomly I think once an hour. I think it's something like that, or every half hour or something. Any other questions? And by the way, what we're showing tonight is the closest thing so far to the Holy Grail. I'm thrilled with the results so far, and I haven't created the stupid thing, but in Gar's Gold alone, we've been doing way better because of this track trading. I mean, I think the options portfolio has gone up like 50% in a week or something. It's something crazy like that. I personally am biased towards options trading only because it doesn't take a whole lot of money. You know, you could trade on really small accounts. I mean, within reason. You can't trade on a $200 account, but you don't need tens of thousands like you do sometimes for stock trading. How do you download the software? Are you new? Have you never even run TradersUNITE? Person asking that, his name is Igor or something like that. Hope I'm pronouncing it. Or Igor. You say, how do I download software? Do you not have TradersUNITE program? The reason I ask that is, oh, you have it on your computer but it doesn't recognize the password? Well, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the password mechanism. What you might want to do is, well, if I know what your username is, I could look it up for you. Let's see. Another thing you could do is when you must not be entering the right password. I don't know what else to tell you. You could download it again, but that's not going to help because it's still going to come up and ask you for your password. Am I right? So I'm not sure how to fix that unless we figure out what your password is. Look, here's what you need to do. Go to our website, which is www.garsworld.com. There's a link that says Contact Us. Send a message that'll go to me personally, because I get all the Contact Us messages, whether I like it or not. Sometimes I pass them on to other people. And tell me the problem. You can't recognize your password. Tell me what your username is. I will look it up, and I will tell you what the right password is. If worse comes to worse, we'll just force it to be a whole new username and password. But you're going to have to go through us to do that, because there's no way to do that in the program. No way to reset your password. Now, if any of you are brand new and never even looked at the program, you just download it and run it. And then you can register as a user. There's a lot of stuff in the program that's free, so you don't need to buy anything to run the program. Any other questions? I was delighted. We got a lot of people that showed up tonight. I thought it'd be an empty house because a boatload of people showed up last night. How many instruments on your list? I'm not sure what you mean by instruments. Oh, stocks. Our master list has about 2,000. It needs to be updated, and that's on our high priority list to update the list because it hasn't updated in about 9-10 months. What that master list is, it's all stocks in the NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, and AMX, minus illiquid stocks that trade less than, I think it's 300,000 shares a day average, and below $1 a share. That leaves about 2,000 stocks. The only problem is it hasn't been updated for a while, so there's a lot of stocks that do match that criteria, but they're not on the list. And you just said you probably only need 100 stocks to trade successfully. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I only need like 20 stocks to trade successfully, but you know, you'd be amazed. We've got 2,000 stocks in there, and once a week I get an email from somebody going, "I can't believe that my favorite stock is missing from your list," and they start complaining. Unbelievable. Jaybird said that she put registration info on Facebook. Hope that helped. Yeah, I think it did help because we had a spike of about 25 people who registered in the last hour. Maybe that was it. Who knows? Yeah, Igor just said you should trade what works consistently, not your favorite. Yeah, but guess what? You're right. But my favorite is the ones that work consistently. That's how I adopt a favorite. Like there's just I don't know. Have you ever noticed that there's just some stocks that always seem to work out? You know, at least more often than not. Those become my favorite. You know, like what? Like I remember I was showing you that EWZ. That stock is the weirdest stock. It's like the Brazil ETF or something like that. And for some reason, that stock almost always works for me, almost every single time, whether it's long or short. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to shut down. We will start making some general educational videos on track trading, which will be available in the product itself. I will imagine that. You know, one of the nice things about Traders Unite is it has embedded video. So you don't need a user manual because you just click and watch the video. It's very interesting, isn't it? The problem with track trading is we don't have any videos yet. Somebody here is asking, I just got it, so Traders Unite is in real time. Yeah, it's in absolute real time. However, there's one caveat to that. Since we are not licensed to redistribute real-time quotes, redistribute them, there's nowhere in the program that gets, you know, that has quote-unquote streaming quotes. And the other thing is that there's a slight delay, ever so slight delay, in the data that you do see. That's actually intentional since we're not allowed to give out real-time quotes. What happens to get around that is that the real-time data is on our server and all the computations are done on the server, which you never see. You see the results of that computation. So your results, for example, when one of these patterns trip, let's say on a filter or on the track trading, that's essentially that's real time. So like if it suddenly pops up, it's popping up right now. And as far as seeing the last trade price of the stock, let's say on your paper trader or on you know, let's say a watch list or something, that's probably delayed about 30 seconds, I would say. But for all practical purposes, it's real time, especially if you're not a super day trader where seconds count. If you're a super day trader where seconds count, you really want to use somebody else's real-time quote streamer. Seriously, you don't want to use our data because it's too slow for that. But if you want to use our data to get something that trips, you know, something to take notice of or to watch. But if you want to follow the little, you know, the 1 minute ticks or something, for heaven's sake, use another quote service for that. If you're going to trade like by the hour, let's say, you know, get something now, check in an hour later, then our data is totally adequate. It's completely adequate. What is your website again, please? It's www.garsworld.com. Here, I think I can post that to you in this message thing. There, I just clicked send to all in this webinar, the website address. Emmanuel's asking, you ask an interesting question. I'm not familiar with your pricing system. Moreover, I do not have your other programs. Can I buy this as a standalone program? And in this case, how much would it be? That's an interesting question because nobody's ever asked me that because 99.9% of our users are old users. You know, they've had our old stuff and they migrated into Traders Unite. But here's the deal. TradersUNITE is a standalone product already. The answer to your question is you're the same as anybody else. The only thing is you don't have any previous products. The only difference that makes is you won't have any automatic grandfathering into the program. Now, let me explain that. Here, let me show you here on the screen, in fact. TradersUNITE is really just an assembly of different modules, but it's all one program. The top row you see here, where you see Stock Forum, Markets, Trade Simulator, Profiles, Leaderboard, News, and Stocks. So the first 7 icons, those are free, completely free. So if you download and register for the program right now, every one of those guys are yours forever and for free. All the other stuff costs, you know, and it's either a monthly charge or you can do this grandfather special, which means it's a one-time thing for now until eternity, or until we're no longer in existence, which isn't going to happen soon, so I shouldn't even say that. If you want to see the prices, you can click on My Account right down here, and that'll show you the various. I'm showing no prices because obviously I'm grandfathered. But if you want to buy anything, you can click on this manual renew and it'll take you to a web page. It's really that simple. So the answer is, yeah, you can buy stuff, you just like anybody else. The difference is that these other people have legacy products, which means they already have some, not all, but some of these features are already enabled on their program. It's kind of confusing to old people because, I mean, to old users, because of the mix and match of the different things that people have. But it's a problem in migrating all the old stuff over. I hope that answers your question. I would suggest you play around with it right now, because remember, the first several icons are free. I hope that answers your question. You do ask another question. Your other programs, can I buy the, this is a standalone program, and in this case, how much would it be? Oh, no, I already answered that. Yeah, you don't need our old programs to buy anything. Like I said, the only difference is you won't be grandfathered into anything already because you never did buy the old programs. But every one of those old features will eventually become available to you. This new one, this TrackTrading, is sort of a standalone new product in a sense, but which puts you in the same boat as everybody else. Is what so it doesn't matter whether you have the old programs or not. As these programs come out and are migrated into TradersUNITE, then you can make a decision whether you want those or not. One example would be our most popular older product is PowerScan. That lets you create your own custom filters to look for setups in real time. That feature does not exist in TradersUNITE yet, but it will soon. It'll be called the Filter Manager. And the Filter Manager will let you create custom filters, and you can apply those to all the other modules in TradersUNITE. For people who bought PowerScan, that's just going to be free for them. But if you're new and want that feature, there'll be some kind of cost to it. I hope that makes sense. The confusion is this whole migration business. It's a lot cleaner if you're a new user. All right, any other question? If I don't see any more in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to shut down.